Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Deconstructing Hip-Hop, the show where geek meets ghetto, aka the show where we break down classic hip-hop beats using modern day music production tools. Now before I start, I do want to issue a correction to a previous clip. Now a little while ago, I covered Mobb Deep's Shook Ones Part 2. Now in that video, I guessed that Havoc had used an Ensoniq ASR-10 when he was making the beat. Well, apparently I was wrong. Big shout to Immobilarity1 on YouTube for pointing out that Havoc had said that he used an Ensoniq EPS-16 Plus and an Akai MPC-60 on the track. Good looking out, fam. Now, anyways, today's track was really kind of fun for me to do. Now, I picked it out last week while stuck in traffic on the way to work, and I was stuck behind somebody who was really bumping something that was trying to sound like hip-hop. Although last time I heard, a song actually had to have rapping in it for it to be called hip-hop. Maybe I'm just old. I don't know. Now, the track I picked to do today came up on my iPhone Shuffle, and it somehow seemed appropriate, at least to me, given the fact that it was talking about the importance of lyrical skill. And at the risk of sounding like an old head who's saying that modern-day rappers really aren't putting it down like the old ones used to, yeah, let me not finish that sentence. Anyway, the song that I chose was Jeru the Damaja's Come Clean. Now, I'll have to admit that this will definitely not be the last DJ Premier song that I'm gonna cover. I mean, the man is a genius. Seriously, if not for this man making Gang Starr's Hard to Earn album, I probably wouldn't have started making beats, and I probably would have gotten in trouble in high school and maybe not gone to college and maybe never become a therapist who went on to help several people work through personal and marital issues. See, people, DJ Premier has saved families and children and myself. But anyways, I'm going off on the only tangent. I used to think that most of Primo's work from this era was produced on an EMU SP1200. Now, after doing a little digging online, I found out that he probably used an Akai S950 sampler that was being controlled by an MPC-60. And he wouldn't be the first person to use an MPC strictly for its pads. Those Roger Lynn design devices are legendary for their build quality. Now, not to take anything away from the modern MPCs, I mean, the 5000 is crazy, but the reputation of those pads on those specific Lynn design devices really precedes them. Now, the only time I personally have ever seen an MPC-60 was back, I think it was either in 96 or 97 when Rashid Chappelle took me and my adolescent self into a studio in Newark where the guy who owned the place was schooling me on why I should learn about Roger Lynn and how the classic bit of gear that was the MPC-60 changed the game. Now, the closest thing that I use now to an MPC is an Akai MPD-32, which is fantastic in many ways. But I'm really just not loving the pads. I mean, I know that the box says that they're genuine MPC pads, but they really don't respond too well, even with the modifications that are available online. Trust me, I've tried them all. Now, as much as I hate to say it, I might just have to buy a machine. I mean, sure, the MPC Renaissance is coming out this summer, but I really don't need another audio interface. And if their iOS app is any indication, with all of its crashy goodness and poor design, in my opinion, Akai's strong suit really isn't their software department. And I know I'm inviting many negative comments with that, but I'm going way off on a nerdy tangent this time. Now back to Come Clean. When I hear this song, I'm taken back to 1993, back to freshman year in high school when I had hair and my passion for hip hop was really starting to come into its own. Now I clearly recall riding in my older brother's white Hyundai bumping this song. And you have to remember that back in 1993, everybody that truly loved hip hop really cared about a rapper's skills, even if they weren't like a true hip hop head. And I can clearly recall many of my female classmates loving this track too. Now you have to remember, if you're not some pretty looking six-pack having guy and girls are bumping your track, you really have to know that it's a hot track. But that was a different era, and not to take away anything from my brother Jeru, you are beautiful, my friend. I'm just playing. Now this track is made up of samples from two songs, I should say. The percussive sample that starts the song and plays straight through is from Shelly Manne's Infinity. The kick, snare, and hi-hat come from Funk Inc.'s Kool is Back. Now, this song has been used many times over again in hip hop. It's been sampled by the likes of Audio 2, PE, Big Daddy Kane, and many, many more. And if you have a chance, head on over to whosampled.com and look up the song and see all of the other hip hop artists that sampled this to make their own tracks. Now, I put this cover together a little bit differently in that I exclusively used Propellerhead's Reason 6 and nothing else. I really wanted to try to get that old sampler experience. I wanted to use the built-in sampler and editor that Reason has because that's pretty much how the song was probably made back then, back in the 90s. I mean, it was sampled and chopped and truncated and played all in the S950. No audio editing software like I've been doing. I've been having it pretty easy. And being the musician that he is, Primo is known to have played many of his drum loops live into the sequencer. Not like I've been doing where I lay down each and every single piece of the beat separately. What I mean is, first, a lot of times I'll do the hi-hat, then the kick, then the snare, and you get the idea. Now, given that I was never really one to practice playing the piano as a kid, much to my mom's chagrin, this is gonna prove interesting since my timing is very, very bad to say the least. Now, also, I use my iPhone as a sample source. Anyway, less talking, more beat making. And there you have it. I did not get the drum arrangement perfect. I mean, sure, I missed a couple of kicks here and there in the drum loop, but I really do think that I nailed the sample and the sound of the drums themselves. I mean, they pretty much sound close to the original. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. And for those of you who really aren't familiar with old sampling techniques, I really hope that you're starting to get an idea of why making these old songs was really a sign of skill. I mean, it's not just like taking a piece of somebody's old song, like a lot of people would have you think. You know, they're trying to say that a lot of these old guys really didn't have talent when it's quite the opposite. I mean, you couldn't just take a whole huge part of somebody's song because the technology was limited and it did not let you do that. You had to make the beat that you had in mind any way that you could using all of those limited resources. I mean, if you wanted to get a 4-bar sample but you didn't have enough sample time, many producers would speed up the record and then when they're playing the sample back, slow it down. And it did sacrifice some of the sound quality, but you know, you got the track any way that you could. And there were plenty of other workarounds that I'm not gonna mention. Needless to say, like I said before, this is not gonna be the last DJ Premier song that you're gonna see me cover. Anyway, remember to remember to like the Facebook page and to share these videos on your timeline. Please, that really does mean a lot to me and makes me want to do more videos. And also, subscribe to the YouTube channel and post these clips wherever your little heart leads you to do so. Whether it's in forums or, you know, or different people's Facebook pages, or you just want to shout me out on Twitter. I'd love you for it. Now, if you want to hear a particular song, speaking of Twitter, follow me on there at RogerGill79 and at reply me your request. Well, once again, I do have to head off to work on this ugly, rainy New Jersey morning. But until next time, people, peace.